Okay, let's finish up part 3 with our discussion of this chapter 6 material. Again, just to review, we're looking at the alias command. We've looked at some simple ways to use the alias command. We've seen how with that we have to put the command in the .bashrc file if we want that alias to continue to work in every shell that we start up. And now finally, we're looking at a way to build some more complex commands. What we're demonstrating here is the fact that we can put 2 or more commands on the same line and have them execute at the same time. In this case, we've used the ifconfig command, which shows us IP configuration information and other information about our network interface, as well as this cat command. So we're saying cat this file. Again, as a reminder, the cat command simply displays the contents of a text file. It displays the contents or shows me what's in a text file. So I'm telling it to run this command, then, using the semicolon, think of this as a then cat this file that lives in the etc directory. They hit the enter command. This is the output. Again, this is the output of the ifconfig command. This is the output of that cat etc resolve.conf file. I can build that into a single alias statement. So let's take this command, I'll do alias, and let's just make a play on Windows here, ipconfig, and then since we have the spaces and more than one command, we really need our single quotes here. So we're building an alias. We're going to call our alias ipconfig. Actually, let's do something a little different with that. Let's call it ipinfo, because in some Linux distributions now you're actually seeing a command called ipconfig. So alias ipinfo, and then when I type this in, it's going to execute this command. So I'll hit enter. I'm going to clear my screen just to give me some room here. Then I'll do ipinfo, and notice what it does. It executes both of those commands. If I do type ipinfo, it shows me that's an alias, and it shows me what it runs, or what command it runs when I type in that alias name, ipinfo. So that's a way to build a complex command using alias. Allows me to run more than one command at a time using a single word, in this case ipinfo. I can go in again with our unalias command and turn that off. Alias ipinfo. If I type in ipinfo now, it tells me command not found. And at this point, I think that will conclude our discussion of the materials and contents in chapter 6. Actually, before we do that, let's look at one last thing here. They've just typed in the alias command. Let's do that as well so you can see the impact. What this does is show me a list of all the currently configured aliases that I have. Start at the top here. There's an alert CLS, which is one that I built in a previous video. And here are aliases that all existed at the or were created when I installed the machine. These are default aliases that are created by the Ubuntu Linux installation process. Notice again LL. This is a common one seen in most Linux distributions. Not necessarily in Unix, but in most Linux distributions. So if I type in LL, what is it doing? Well, it's running this command, ls-al capital F. So what's the A? It's a long listing. Excuse me, it's a show all. The capital, the lowercase l is a long listing, and the capital F is what they typically refer to sort of in the vernacular as a fancy decoration. It places these forward slashes at the end of directory names just to help, again, identify them as directories. Oftentimes you will see that LL is alias to simply ls-l, and the A and the F are left out in some Linux distributions. Now, this does conclude our discussion at this point of the contents of Chapter 6 in your textbook. Hope you have a great afternoon. If you have any questions, please email me.